Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining. Give me like 10 seconds and I'll start writing. Okay, thank you for your patience. Shout out to Fatima. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Miller. Shout out to Jayla. Thank you. Shout out to Athena. Shout out to... It's okay, Fatima, I understand. I know the live was really short earlier. It was just like about 30 minutes. Shout out to Patrice. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nikki. Shout out to Cookie. Shout out to Yoon Jin. Shout out to Kaden. Bye, Jayla. Thank you for stopping by. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Susie. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Kamaria. Shout out to Drake. Hello everyone, welcome. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Braven. Shout out to Kiki. Hello everyone, welcome. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Penny. Shout out to Amethyst. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Indy. Shout out to Lola. Shout out to Elijah. Shout out to the Biggies. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Crosby. Shout out to Mojon. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Matilda. Shout out to Kelly. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Annalie. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Zanaya. Shout out to Marley. Shout out to Taylin. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Adelaide. Shout out to Anshika. Shout out to Leia. Shout out to Ruth. Shout out to Layton. Shout out to Samara. Max, I got you. Shout out to Victoria. Thank you. Shout out to David. Shout out to Queen. Shout out to Tiara. Shout out to JJ. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Belle. Shout out to Ashley. Whoops. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Natalia. Shout out to Veda. Thank you everyone for your patience. Shout out to Keelan. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Shelly. Shout out to Ivana. Shout out to Kamoya. Shout out to Dawson. Shout out to Exelon. Shout out to Danik. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Journey. Shout out to Elagosa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Timmy. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Gavin. Shout out to Devin. Shout out to Eliana. Shout out to Abella. Shout out to Mithasha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Destiny. Whoopsie, I messed up. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Siba. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Melly. Shout out to Adriana. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Elodie. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Harnor. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to TJ. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Jenna. Shout out to Zoza. Shout out to Rafa. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Tilly. Shout out to Alana. Shout out to Mary Kate. Shout out to Giselle. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Ava, I got you. Shout out to Calvin. Shout out to Javi. Shout out to Aisha. Shout out to Chase. Shout out to Melissa. Shout out to Juan. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to McCool. Shout out to Decker. Shout out to Harmony. Harmony Snow. Shout out to Vicky. Shout out to Maddie. Whoops, you can't really see. I'm gonna write it again. Shout out to Sammy. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time to write your name. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Alicia. Shout out to Michaela. Shout out to Trinity. Shout out to Mocha. Shout out to Mishka. Thank you. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Apollo. Shout out to Sohail Ahmed. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Abigail. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Keelan. Shout out to Zachariah. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Mama. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Rory. Shout out to Demetria. Shout out to Jennifer. Shout out to Penny. Shout out to Kayla. Shout out to DJ. Shout out to Aliana. Shout out to Gracie. Shout out to Carter. Shout out to Xylin. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ali. Shout out to Cadence. Shout out to Jefferson. Shout out to Lydia. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Albert. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Alana. Thank you everyone for your patience. Shout out to, thank you, is it Nisha? Or Nisha? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to oh, I just put Stephanie. Shout out to Journey. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Miriam. Shout out to Lex. Shout out to Ara or Era. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Paris. Shout out to... You're welcome, Albert. Thank you for your support. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Karen. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Gemma. Shout out to Louie. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Naima. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Suzai. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Belle. Shout out to Cappy. Shout out to Jill. Or Gil. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lizzie. Shout out to Chisme Party. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Mayo. Or Mayo. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jewel. Shout out to Stray Kids. Shout out to Ben. Shout out to Yulia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Pilar. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sally. I'm so sorry. Sally. Shout out to Lena. Shout out to Seth. Shout out to Elsie. Shout out to Mitchell. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Kim. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Felix. Shout out to Luis. Shout out to Velis. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Soonmin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Dawn. Shout out to Sigma Boy Arcade. Shout out to Samara. Shout out to Marie. Shout out to Amir. Shout out to Ness. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to Bang Chan. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Willie. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Alette. Shout out to Noreen. Shout out to Harkirat. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Gia. Shout out to Brielle. Shout out to Oakley. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to Hector. Shout out to Reed. Shout out to Peyton. Shout out to Desiree. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Also subscribe to my channel if you want to support my channel and me. I would truly appreciate it. I live stream every day and I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Melina. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Scout. Shout out to Faison. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Dylan. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jaime. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Cat Eye. Shout out to Lennon. Shout out to Reed. Shout out to Ben. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Sasha. Shout out to Arav. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kim. Shout out to Yaretzi. Shout out to Oakley. Shout out to Bearsy. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nina. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Mora. Shout out to Oliver. Shout out to MJ. Shout out to B Bear. Shout out to Daisy. Shout out to Shakila. Shout out to Jamonte. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Armin. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Alicia or Alicia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Calvin. Shout out to Linux. Shout out to Perry. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Jaime. Shout out to Trin. Shout out to Lem Zen. Shout out to Haley. Shout out to Yunche. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Fire. Shout out to Gustavo. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Sipti. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ileana. Shout out to Nafel. Shout out to Natalie. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to B. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Vivi. Shout out to Elvis. Shout out to Paris. Shout out to Lindley. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Eilish or Ailish. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Declan. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Eva. Shout out to Bea. Shout out to Mrs. Lackey. Shout out to Lee. Shout out to Isla. Shout out to Kyrie. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Moana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to City. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nessie. Shout out to Cam. Shout out to McKenna. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Casey. Shout out to Pearl. I'm so sorry for your loss. Shout out to Marley. Shout out to Natalia. Happy birthday. Shout out to Georgia. Shout out to Chase. Shout out to Mattis Dolls. Happy birthday. Wishing you all the best. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Maggie. Shout out to Sal. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Kavi. Happy birthday. Shout out to Imani Elliott. I don't think I spelled your name right. Oh yeah, I did. Okay. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Yasmin. Shout out to Mason. Shout out to Sloan. Whoopsie. There we go. Shout out to Kinsey. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Madeline. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Andrea. Shout out to Zach. Shout out to Haley. Shout out to Sierra or Kyra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Yahira. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Burden. Shout out to May or Mai. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. I live stream every day, and I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Shout out to Arshia or Arshia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Journey. Shout out to Yunche. Shout out to Yule. Shout out to Jayla. Shout out to Arisha. Shout out to City. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Starla. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Skyly. Shout out to Gnarly. Shout out to Kenji. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Sam. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Mono. Shout out to Hutchins. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Zani. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Mila. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Mina. Shout out to Rain. Thank you for showing me how to pronounce your name. Shout out to Ruhi. Shout out to Kelsey. Shout out to Alva. Shout out to Alea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Mavis. Shout out to Suhana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Amira. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Game Boy. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Mariana. Thank you. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Amaya. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Cecilia. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Santiago. Shout out to Joelania. Jolanya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sanket. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Serafina. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Andrew. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to Kavaya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ava. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Mono. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Lennon. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Liv. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Vlad. Shout out to Aileen. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sam. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Julian. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Mel. Shout out to Teresa. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Simone. Or Simon. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jita. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Bailey. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Luca. Shout out to Solo. What is it? Solo Mia. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Anastasia. Shout out to Braylon. Shout out. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Helen. Shout out to Will. Shout out to King. Shout out to Guru Dev. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Avery. Avery. I'm so sorry. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Ryan. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jacob. Thank you so much for subscribing. Shout out to, you're welcome, Helen. Shout out to Carlos. Shout out to Gavin. Shout out to Candy. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Billie Jean. Shout out to Kaina or Kaina. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Alina. Shout out to May. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Renz. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Raylan. Shout out to Neek. Happy birthday. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Penny. Shout out to Tank. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your support. And thank you for your patience. I know I don't write as fast as I wish I could. So I thank you for taking the time to write your name. Shout out to Layla. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Haven. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Rocco. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Valen. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Adonis. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Avea. Shout out to Morgan. Shout out to Kensley. Shout out to Mari Luz. Shout out to MJ. Shout out to Alexia. Shout out to Elijah. Happy birthday. Shout out to Kaylani. Shout out to Andre. Shout out to Zoya. Shout out to Jevil. Shout out to Evangelina. Shout out to Abigail. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Marissa. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out out to Peyton. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Yan. Shout out to Annalise. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Zach. Shout out to Shayna. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Estella. Shout out to Doralise. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Kira. Shout out to Aitana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Carlos. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Mabel. Shout out to Santiago. Shout out to Irene. Shout out to Marley. Shout out to May. Shout out to Clover. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Rana. Or Reina. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Purnima. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Zafira. Or Zafira. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Kendall. Shout out to Jelani. Or Jaylani. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Castine. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Zoya. Shout out to Sheila. Shout out to Jelani. Shout out to Meredith. Shout out to Dawn. Shout out to Zamira. Or what? Oops, oopsie. Oh no, I lost it. Zamaria? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Arabella. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Afreen. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Zainab. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Zach. Shout out to Carter. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Cat's Eye. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Kavia, or Kavaya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Jazzy. Shout out to Danny. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Naomi. Shout out to Priscilla. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Alea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Manon. Shout out to Diana. Shout out to Azmina. Shout out to Yunche. I'm gonna put you over here so your name fits. Shout out to Alexis. Shout out to Hasanat. Shout out to Brielle. Shout out to Mono. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Madeline, I got you. Shout out to Lila. Shout out to Mrs. B. Garcia. Shout out to Neela. Shout out to Yasmin. Shout out to Armani. Shout out to Cheyenne. You're welcome. Shout out to Cat's, what was it? Cat's Eye? Shout out to Nas. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Kaylee, or Callie, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Soraya. Shout out to Yvie. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lena. Shout out to Evie. Shout out to these people. I live stream every day, so I hope you can subscribe so you know when I'm gonna live stream. I normally live stream around the same time as right now. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out and leave likes around my videos. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to write my name, to write your name. Take care. Oh, sorry, I spelled Evie's name wrong. Shout out to Evie. There we go. Take care. See you next time. Bye.